afternoon. Let's take a step back in time. It's August 2014, and nearly 9,000 Yazidis have been killed by ISIS in nearly 2 months. They've used atrocities such as rape, slavery, and forced marriages. When people endure a genocide, how do we create opportunities for those communities that have been affected to share their stories, especially when trust is shattered and the trauma lingers? Now, while this question resonates in numerous contexts, from the Holocaust, Bosnia, Rwanda, and Gaza, today I'm going to focus a little bit on northern Iraq, where ISIS fighters invaded Sinjar and deliberately sought to eradicate the ethno-religious minority Yazidi community. Now, nearly a decade later, Iraq's civil society stands at a critical juncture, striving to balance resilience against the looming specter of renewed conflict, all while the social fabric remains deeply frayed. Now, as an academic and practitioner of inclusive peacebuilding, I lead Community Development Insights, and I get to work with civil society leaders who face these realities every day. One thing I've learned is that often these local civil society leaders, even when they're under-resourced, they are the best placed to foster those initiatives that support empathy, shift perspectives, and really create openings for reconciliation. But the question for us is, how do we do this when there's often no space, especially for women, to talk about these really, really difficult things? How do we support communities to take that first meaningful step towards peace in a culturally sensitive manner? So to answer that question, today I'm going to share with you a story of one of my partners, Dr. Rosen Mohammed Amin, who's Associate Professor at Kurdistan Institution for Strategic Studies and Scientific Research. She's also the co-founder of Cultural Heritage Organization. Rosen and her largely female team are using augmented and virtual reality tools to tackle targeted hate. And her work is built on a simple but thought-provoking premise that empathy is not just a feeling. Rather, it can engineer a cognitive shift that leads to transformative, immediate, and long-term action. So let's take a quick look at her augmented reality tool. It's an app that's called Feel Like Me. And it works kind of like a Snapchat filter where users can imagine themselves as a Yazidi, and they're confronted with a question. Have you ever needed to justify your existence, your culture, your beliefs? Characters are built on firsthand testimonies, and they offer a unique opportunity for people to really step inside the shoes of a Yazidi person who's endured hate. She's also using virtual reality tools to preserve the local heritage of minorities as a building block to foster social cohesion. In Soleimania, for example, visitors to a local museum can take out their phone and look at historic parts of the building and watch stories come alive. They can learn about the first women's school, or maybe a tobacco factory where women once found economic empowerment. These digital experiences are sparking dialogue across communities, allowing people to reconnect on a human level. Rosen also recently evaluated a virtual reality program called Nobody's Listening that's been developed by Yazda and Upstream. The headset that users put on essentially transports you to Sinjar. You see the destroyed sites, you get to visit the displaced camps where people still live. And as one participant said, you hear about the atrocities in the news, but seeing them, feeling them virtually, that really changes your perspective. And her evaluation findings are striking. She found that more than 80% of people described a strong sense of empathy, and many left committed to advocate for marginalized populations. So what does this tell us? that carefully designed tools can reduce cognitive dissonance. They make it harder to rationalize hate and easier to act in solidarity. And of course, high-tech tools are not used in a silo. Civil society leaders like Rosen are combining online and offline approaches to really foster constructive conflict resolution in real time in their communities. So what should we take away from all of this today? That hate thrives on distance and dehumanization, but empathy can close that gap and can become a powerful tool that moves people closer together towards awareness and action. Moreover, Rosen's work shows us that technology can be harnessed to reconnect us to our shared humanity, something we've been talking about a lot today. And if empathy can be digitally cultivated, it can also be deployed against hate, against indifference, and for the possibility of peace. Thanks.
Okay, I'm really excited about this next panel for a variety of reasons. And I asked for permission to tell this story, so I have permission to tell the story. The first time I met Luke, he was dressed like this. And my first thought was, this is an hour of my life I'm never gonna get back. And then I started to listen to him, and he is somebody who really has changed my life and the way I look at a lot of these issues. So it just goes to show you, when you open your eyes and listen to somebody who you think is kind of the other, amazing things can happen. So whenever I'm with Luke, he reminds me of that. So this is a super exciting panel. And there is, I'll give you a little riddle, and then we can talk about it tonight. There is a connection between this panel and another panel you've already heard about. And they're not going to talk about it, but see if you can figure out what that is. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to Marcus to start us off. Okay? Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Laura. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you to the Eradicate Hate team for producing this amazing conference, and thank you all for joining this important session. My name is Marcus Howard. I lead strategic partnerships for Shine a Light Gaming. I don't know if you know this, but earlier last week, there was an article in the Harvard Business Review that said that every business needs a gaming strategy. There are over 3 billion people worldwide who play video games regularly, and as a force for good, video games can unite people across any demographic, including race, gender, and religion. With Shine a Light on Gaming, we have collected a group of partners and community members to help reduce anti-Semitism, hate, and toxicity in gaming. One of those projects we're working on is actually a report and research to quantify the negative economic impact of hate and toxicity on the gaming industry. We're also about to launch a program that trains people to reduce hate and toxicity in gaming communities around the world. Through that work, we've had the privilege to work with Luke. And if you don't know, Luke is the creator of the critically acclaimed Light in the Darkness video game. It's been completed over 2 million times worldwide. So I'm thrilled and honored to introduce you all to Luke so that he and Lauren can explain how they're using video games to reimagine Holocaust education and eradicate hate.
Yeah, my microphone does work. Hi everyone, so I'm not that great at public speaking, but so basically Light in Darkness was the first video game about the Holocaust. And as you guys know, pretty much video games are bigger than movies, music, and TV combined. So it made sense pretty much, to also be able to address the Holocaust within that video game. And so yeah, first video game about Holocaust being finished, over 2 million players have finished it, pretty much. And long story short, so since it very much changed the space, so last year to Eradicate Hate, I basically met Meta, Meta Facebook pretty much. And with Meta, now we're working on a new version of Light in Darkness, which is the director's cut, which will come from the Meta Quest headset. Because Meta also saw the effectiveness of how it works, actually people when they play it, they actually have a human reaction, and a lot of people can relate to the characters, all those things, and we've noticed that we do believe that it actually reduces hate. And so pretty much I'm here to reveal the MetaQuest free version, which happened because of Eradicate Hate. And now you can play the video. Okay, so it's actually better. It showed it. So pretty much as you guys saw, it's kind of like an animated film, you know, because you imagine you hear a video game about the Holocaust, you can imagine, you know, something really bad like a SimCity in a concentration camp or something. But yeah, basically, it's a story about Polish Jews in France during the Holocaust, and it's very much like an animated film. And I think why people have resonated with it a lot more on such a huge scale is because you actually do become the characters, and actually video games allow you to empathize and become closer to the characters than any other form of media, including film pretty much. So that was that, and I'm going to pass off to Lauren.
Okay. Well, hello everyone. I'll introduce myself. I'm Lauren, Baron's father. I am the CEO of the Anne Frank Center. I know many of you in this room because I've been involved with Eradicate Hate since its inception as the previous director of the Holocaust Center of Pittsburgh and someone very much involved in the response after the Tree of Life. It's very meaningful to me to be up on the stage today to share this project with you. So I want to introduce you to the Anne Frank Center USA, you might not know about us, and then tell you a little bit more about our approach to Holocaust education, and finally how involvement with Eradicate Hate and working with Laura Ellsworth led to the moment you're seeing right now. So the Anne Frank Center USA is a New York-based nonprofit, but in our earliest iteration, we were founded by Otto Frank, Anne Frank's father, and the sole survivor of the secret annex. Otto Frank wanted to open the Anne Frank House in Amsterdam, and he knew that he needed the United States. He needed support from people in the United States to do that. So he founded our organization, and Eleanor Roosevelt was our first chair. So we have a very prestigious history. In the 1970s, we became a nonprofit in New York, led by a Dutch Holocaust survivor. And during that time, we really picked up on Otto Frank's true belief in the power of young people to change the world. So if you see anything about us online or any of the materials that have been distributed here at the summit, it says we believe in the power of young people to change the world. So how do we do that? Well, our strategy is we want to provide access to kids, to students. You can imagine how thrilled I was to see that student summit yesterday. Amazing to have nearly 400 young people here planning to make change. They are going to change the world. And for us, that's how you do it. You provide access to quality programming, to opportunity, and better yet, if you can do it and it's at no cost or very low cost. So the Anne Frank Center USA does most of our educational programming as educational theater. We are bringing a program here in November to schools through Classrooms Without Borders. That play is Letters from Anne and Martin. It puts Anne Frank and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on stage, side-by-side monologues that begin to feel like a conversation. They were both born in 1929, so they have something in common that most people are not aware of. I find it very powerful. We're also doing a public performance then, and I'm plugging it because it's so much in keeping with the kind of community that we are building through the Eradicate Hate Global Summit. And we're doing this with Leon Ford and the HERE Foundation. I know there are a lot of HERE Foundation people here. November 13th at the August Wilson African American Cultural Center. Please join us. It will be that evening, a rare opportunity to see one of our school programs in a public performance. And it will start and continue the kind of conversations that we're having here, where we can communicate across difference, where we don't need to be divided by misunderstandings of each other. Our other performance is called Conversations with Anne, and this is the program that is most relevant to what we're talking about on the stage today. Conversations with Anne is Anne Frank on the stage, 30 minutes taken from the diary. And at the conclusion, the actor stays in character and takes questions from the audience. We do this from grades 4 and up. And the response is incredible. It also, just as video games do, opens up empathy, gets kids to be curious about each other, starts the conversations that build community, build trust, build the kind of communities we all want to live in. So, through the magic of the Eradicate Hate Summit, and I may be sort of giving a clue to what Laura was alluding to, I was in Poland this summer. You all heard about what felt like a chance encounter, but there are no coincidences, right? That I was standing at House 88, the home of Archer, thinking to myself, I need to call Laura Ellsworth. Laura needs to know about this. The door opens and Laura walks in. Okay. So this was a delegation of leaders from the Association of Holocaust Organizations, and you saw Tali yesterday presenting. So together, we were all in Poland for this learning trip. It was really remarkable. And one thing that I took away from the experience of being in Poland was how to do this kind of education well, we need to be able to make a personal connection. We need stories. We need life stories, right? We need to know what we're looking at. Already in that video, I'm feeling connected to the people who were in your video game, Luke. That's incredible. So the challenge that many of our organizations, and I'm speaking broadly about Holocaust museums and education organizations, the challenge that we face is we've been around for a long time, and much of the work that we do comes from a place of love, and we've been challenged to adapt to technology, to truly embrace innovation, which is really where our best opportunities are. We've heard a lot today about social media. We heard the governor say that it's difficult for people to discern fact from fiction online, for young people to discern fact from fiction. We have an opportunity here in a moment where we can be involved in creating something different on social media, where we can use social media and its power for good, to create a place where people can find reliable information about the Holocaust, where there is a place for people to ask potentially embarrassing questions and be treated with respect. The Holocaust happened a long time ago. There's so much we can learn from it, but we need to make that information available and accurate and compelling. So this is how Luke is involved. And Luke and I have known each other for years. We've connected at Eradicate Hate for sure. Luke came to me with an idea that we would team up to create a new account on TikTok. And that is the announcement that we are making to you today. We are so excited to share with you a new TikTok account, Anne Frank Life Story. I think we have something to show you. The account will feature short videos where Anne Frank tells her story. As a Holocaust educator, it has bothered me long before I was in this role that we don't often get to hear from Anne as Anne. She's become a symbol. She's an icon of the Holocaust. I bet everyone in the room can picture her face. So this is an incredible moment where Anne can speak for herself via TikTok. We're going to get to know her as the Jewish girl that she was, the German Jewish girl that she was, and the significance of that. It will be, we're planning to make it, the top anti-hate account on TikTok. So I'm happy to answer any questions from people after the session concludes. I'm so glad you're all here to hear about this. And together we'll be building an incredible Holocaust education resource with incredibly compelling graphics in the style that you saw in that image. So thank you to Laura, to the Eradicate Hate Summit for everything that we've been able to do just through the magic of our being together and sharing our passion for making the world better. Thank you. Luke.
Yeah, I think we got up now, right?
I think we're being ejected. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Thank you.